Good
Yeah,
afternoon, everyone. So welcome to this one-to-one with myself, Pamela, and Lady Rabia AbdulHakim. Um, it's going to be a really interesting discussion. I'm excited to be here. As you guys know, I suffered a major sickle cell trait crisis in 2020. And as a result of that, I became physically disabled for 3 months, and then a whole heap of complications kicked off, and my body is still in recovery now. So I've been not consistent with doing these. However, now we're back and Lady Rabi has joined me. So today we're going to be talking about overcoming the challenges of being physically active whilst living with symptomatic sickle cell trait. So welcome to everybody who's watching on Facebook. Welcome to my special guest, Lady Rabia. And I'll just introduce the topic of discussion and introduce Lady Rabia. So she's a partially sighted marathon runner, writer, an illustrator, and mother of 6 adult children. Though she's been symptomatic with her sickle cell trait status since childhood, she's proactively managed her condition, which has then allowed her to achieve great strides in sports, arts, and culture, which includes some of which includes becoming Miss Teen Cayman Islands in 1986. She was the sportsperson of the year in 1992. She was also a National Taekwondo World Cup team member in 1994. 2014, she achieved the National Cultural Foundation Silver Award. She's also in her writing, she's the creator of Kaka and Tokyo children's book series. She's a community ambassador for Fight for Sight, and she also has achieved running 3 major marathons, and she's a masters athlete. So welcome, Lady Rabia. I'm so pleased to officially meet you.
thank-
Thank you for taking the time out to be with us. And I will shut up and the floor's all yours. Share your story with us.
I don't want you to shut up. I want it to just be like a dialogue going back and forth. Um,
Yes.
where do I start? First of all, I think it would be important for your fellow members to know exactly where I'm from because they get confused with the accent.
Mm-hmm.
So, originally from the Cayman Islands, which is in the Caribbean, right next to Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
But I was educated in America, so therefore the accent is kind of confused.
Yeah.
But the Cayman Islands is a British territory,
Mm-hmm.
so therefore I can, I'm a British citizen. So yeah, a lot of people don't know that it is a British territory. So
Oh,
yeah,
I didn't know that.
I live in the UK
Uh-huh.
and 2014. Where do I start with sickle cell trait? I think it's also really important for people to know that I do have personal experience with the full disease because 2 of my cousins were born with own sickle cell disease, and they passed away a few years ago.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. But the thing is, why that's important is because from one of my first memories with sickle cell was just constantly being in hospital getting blood tests.
Mm-hmm.
I had to be very small. I probably was about 3 or 4, and I just remember constantly going to hospital to get blood tests, and they would tell me that your blood is low. I didn't know what that meant.
Uh-huh.
I did at the time. I didn't know what that meant, but it
Mm-hmm.
was obviously. And I just remember always thinking like I have to be very brave and or pretend to be brave and not care about all these injections because I was constantly having
Running
like,
on heels. It scares me now.
yeah, I know. Um, well, I have 2 siblings as well. There was 3 daughters, so there's 3 girls,
Mm-hmm.
and have the sickle cell trait. Um, yeah, so from very early on, I was told that there was something wrong with my blood.
Mm-hmm.
The main thing that um, that I think that my family did, my mom and my grandparents, because my dad died really early, was
Mm-hmm.
they kept trying to make me avoid eating certain things.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you have to know that this was in the 70s. I was born in the 70s, a long time ago. And
Yeah.
in the islands, they didn't have knowledge back then like they do.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of, like looking at activities we should avoid or things like staying hydrated, it was
Mm-hmm.
thinking that like it had to do with food. I don't know
Yeah.
why.
Wow.
Yeah. So one of the things I remember them always doing was saying like we couldn't drink a lot of apple juice,
Oh,
uh,
wow.
orange, orange juice. My mom would like, you can't drink that. It's gonna
Mhm.
make you oh.
Wow.
So that was the we were also very sick. I remember it just felt like we were sick a lot when we were little, especially
Okay.
myself and then the sister. So I'm the youngest, so it would have
Mm-hmm.
been my little sister. She was very sick a lot, in hospital a lot. She was also very skinny. I remember her being like really like exceptionally skinny
Mm-hmm.
and ill all the time.
Wow.
If someone had told me now to look back, I would have thought she had like sickle cell disease or something. Like it felt like she was that sick all the time. But
Yes.
knowing what I know now, I know she was just like symptomatic. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, that was my earliest experience with sickle cell. And as I grew up, even in childhood, I had severe leg pains. I mean, severe leg pains,
Mm.
arm, shoulders, stomach
Wow.
pains that so severe that they would take me to the doctor. But they never attributed this to sickle cell. At
It's
least
right.
they didn't tell me.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's crazy. I just want to jump in because that's exactly, I think you're one of the first people that I've spoken to who is saying the same thing that like my mom was always told with me. And my stomach was always swollen and tender and my skin would hurt, my leg pains, my head, my hands would swell. And it's like, wow, you're saying what I've been saying all along, the things I've been going through and things. It's like, oh wow,
Mhm.
so
Yeah,
wow.
it was so severe, and they would just like rub it with Vicks,
Hmm. Wow.
the
Uh-huh.
med. They would just rub it and say you're having growing pains. They
Yes.
never pain
Uh-huh.
to and I had severe headaches as well,
Yes.
severe days and days, and I was little, so I kind of feel like now if I have a little baby that's like having headaches, I would,
Yeah.
question. But like I said, it's the island and it's a kind of different mentality. You're supposed to
Yeah.
be like and strong
Hmm.
and like get over it, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I think what it matters for me too was like when I was 5, I was like bumping into things. Like I started just like bumping into things, and
Hmm.
I was a ball one day and I just like ran into a wall. Like you,
Wow.
a wall, but I didn't, I couldn't judge the distance or something. I just ran into the wall. So I split my head open.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So it's like they were dealing with that and then the headaches.
Hmm.
And kind of went on for years. I just acted clumsy, I guess. And then when I was 9, I bumped into the bed frame. We had like the old fashioned metal, heavy black metal bed frames. And I hit
Uh-huh.
my head. And then a tumor developed in the same spot where I hit my knee.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So there's a lot of health things going on.
Yeah.
So they took a while to even like check that out.
Hmm.
But they said, I had to have it removed and checked for cancer. And
Wow.
old and thinking like I had to be like understand like cancer is like something bad, like maybe the or something.
Wow.
all the while I was having like severe eye infections. My eyes were just, oh, they were disgusting. I was just eye infections all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
so eventually my mom said that maybe I needed glasses. So
Mm-hmm.
the headaches and the eye infections are from rubbing my eyes, and they gave me glasses. They didn't really work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because what they didn't know was that the eye disease that I had couldn't be corrected with glasses. It was, but they didn't know that back
Mm-hmm.
then. But to bring it back to yourself and pray, as I got older, I started wondering if my eye condition was related to sickle
Mm-hmm.
cell, because sometimes it does affect the vision and
Yes.
retina. And from what little bit I know about that issue,
Mm-hmm.
is they were telling me no,
Mm-hmm.
because I was with a different part of my eye, which is the cornea front area, not inside the eye.
Mm-hmm.
And so they said that wasn't related to sickle cell trait. But I definitely suffered from both issues, like
Mm-hmm.
all crises and the vision problems at the same time. Everything was like, it was,
Instinct.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I've from like a few panels that I've attended, I've heard one specialist hematologist in pediatrics.
Mhm.
Is that the right way to title her? But yeah, she was talking about eye diseases that people with the trait need to be aware of. And so I kind of need to really listen in. I've heard that glaucoma is a risk for us with the trait. And these are things that we're not told. I mean, the growing pains, like you said, that's the same thing my mom was also told when I was a child and going through the fevers and then the stabbing in my arms, my legs, and then the swelling in my hands. She was just told every time she'd attend the doctor was just, oh, it's just growing pains. And my mom's a strong Christian, so at the time we were little, and African as well, you know, so it's just stay home. Like you said, food was the thing that she would kind of do for me. Now we juice a lot, so smoothies and juices and things, we kind of do that now and incorporate diet, because I know that the healthier you eat, the better, you know, at managing pain, even though it doesn't completely eliminate it. And I think because we've grown up for so long without being managed, there's a lot more damage done to our bodies. So it's now managing the issues that we have as a result of suffering for so long. But yeah, the growing pains was a common theme. And in the group as well, you know, everyone's kind of posting constantly about growing pains, and especially parents with children that suffer, it's growing pains. But no, it's not. And the eye infections, it's wow, that's really interesting to hear about your experience with, you know, the eye infections being alongside the crisis pains. Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, I think definitely, like in the future, if you do anything like that, I would be really interested,
Mm-hmm.
because I think it just felt too odd for me that everything was at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Wow.
just, now looking at it, if it was my child, I would want to see if it was related, because it just
Yes.
seemed too important. Remind me of some of the other things on your outline, because I can't remember. Uh,
um yeah, so physical activities, were you able to kind of partake in sports as a child and running about?
yeah, I did everything, because like I said,
Mhm.
after a certain point, my family didn't do things like tell the teacher, or
Mhm. Yes.
after, I think I would say like maybe after I was like 8 or 9. I don't even remember them really talking about sickle cell.
Hmm.
And it's important that they should have, is because obviously as you get older, you get more active.
Yes.
So, you know, rambunctious and running up and down and living in the islands, I'm like all over the island and in the bush and
Yeah.
fluff. And I was getting more dehydrated. And
Uh-huh.
the severe headaches, you know, I would think, and the pains and all of that was related.
Hmm.
But sports in school, I kind of did, you know, like the normal little primary school sports, you know, sports day. Um, but I do remember that I found it very hard to run. Like I found it I couldn't understand, like, why am I like more tired than everyone else? How's this, like,
Yeah.
what's wrong with me? And my family kind of didn't pay that any attention.
Yeah, and they wouldn't, I guess, because even now, in sports, it's not highlighted. Even with going to the Sickle Cell Society, say, take that for instance. The only time I found out that I was collapsing, training really intensively in my older years, especially, and the extreme thirst, is because I accessed them during a major crisis. But as a child, you're not going to access an external organization if your parents are told by a doctor that it's
Yeah.
in pains. So you wouldn't know. It's like, wow, that's really dangerous. And then there's things like rhabdomyolysis, that the breakdown of the muscle and the kidney, and which can then affect the kidneys, and
Yeah.
then also the renal medullary carcinoma, which predominantly affects trait, and especially those who are athletic and really active in sickle cell trait. So it's things like that you think, well, hang on a minute, they should be telling us this,
Yep.
but they don't. Yeah.
Yeah, in my teenage years, I kind of was focusing more on the pageant thing. I was kind of just, so I wasn't really like I would just like do dancing and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But what I think is significant is that I started doing martial arts. I started doing Taekwondo when 19.
Okay.
And what I didn't realize at the time was how dangerous that was, because we were at a very high competitive level.
Okay.
The trainings that they implemented were very dangerous for me, but I did time compared to when you like some of my kids have done martial arts, and arms now, you medical conditions and things like that. Whereas back then, no one asked me about my medical conditions, no one checked. And we did, we're in extremely hot what would you call it? We call it dojang or whatever, but your school.
Yeah.
And they did that to train you to make you tougher, obviously. So they thought you have to be able to work out, like they close all the windows and doors on purpose.
Oh wow. Yeah, because it's that conditioning kind of thing, the mental whereas they realize the dangers of your body, the physiological environment was really dangerous for you.
That, and now I know that, but at the time, even I literally didn't even think about it. And what they did is they took me, because I was a competitive athlete, I traveled a lot, and I actually participated in a tournament in Colorado. And all ever should go and do any form of strenuous activity at high altitude.
Yes.
I didn't do well that time. So, because, in martial arts, the more you're winning, the more matches you have to fight.
Yeah.
I probably didn't do well because I didn't feel well.
Wow.
And I didn't tie it to the altitude or anything like that. I didn't connect the dots at the time. Now I'm just thinking I was just lucky,
Wow. Very
interesting. My coach didn't do any medical checks or anything.
Wow. And no, I mean, your kidneys now, I am presuming they're fine, no problems with your kidneys?
Yeah, no problems. I've had a lot of other health issues, but again, they to tie them to sickle cell. So I gave birth to my kids. I had 6, thank God, successfully. And I did have issues with tachycardia, like rapid heartbeat.
Yes.
But again, they didn't tie that, to sickle cell. I don't know if it was related. But I did have that issue, especially very severely with my last daughter.
Yeah.
And I had a set of twins and everything.
Oh.
So I had different issues with those pregnancies. But I didn't even think about sickle cell.
And again, you just don't, because no one tells you. And it's like, oh, it's just trait. It's kind of like a really flippant thing. Oh, you just have the trait, but there's nothing wrong with you. And when you know your own body, you know what you're suffering. And then it's, I guess, growing up, now we're older, we can look back and tie the things in that we went through, the experiences, the pains that we went through. And now, especially, I mean, I guess it's good. It's not good, obviously, seeing others in pain and having full-blown sickle cell, but actually knowing what someone with full-blown sickle cell goes through helps identify and connect the dots with having the trait and suffering similarly. You know, because I also grew up with neighbors who had full-blown sickle cell, and seeing what they went through. They were actually the ones that told me when I would be off school for like a month at a time in my childhood and teenage years, and really anemic. Especially when I started my menstrual cycles, it would be really bad, and my attendance was so poor at school. So it was just having that connection, and then now knowing, oh my gosh, all these times I suffered, it was in relation to sickle cell trait, and then going through. So I knew what it was, and I'd tell my doctors until people were just tired of me saying the same thing. And I got tired of being always told, well, it's impossible, or it's very rare to suffer, so it can't be happening. And you think it's in your head at times, but it debilitates you, so it can't be in your head.
I remember, I think when I started thinking back about sickle cell trait, it was probably like, because I had major surgeries for my eyes. I had corneal transplants. So I was in a row here in the UK. And so I was recovering at home. I had to have 18 months of recovery between each surgery. I got this really bad pain in my side, and it just would not go away. And like appendicitis, you know, I didn't think of. Went to the doctor. They told me, "Oh, you're imagining it. Oh, let's just check that." Well, obviously, I had all my kids, so it wasn't that, you know. Still, they did 2 ultrasounds. They just couldn't find anything wrong, and I was just in agony, you know. And then, you know, as we know, it was a long time. It was probably like after a week. It was probably a long time. I just felt like I was suffering, and then it went away. And then I started thinking, I don't know what made me start thinking, but once I had recovered enough from my eye surgeries too, I started back on my fitness. I was always trying to stay fit, you know, because of my martial. I remember how I just came up on some article and clicked a link, and it was about these African American kids that had died, and they had, and I was like, hey, what?
Yep.
Down the rabbit hole, and I was like, I was actually a bit angry, if I'm honest.
Of course.
I would say to my mom, like, I don't understand. Like, number one, if I'm like bumping into stuff, like, how could no act that my eye, like, what is really going on with my eyes? And like, I mean, I suffered. I feel like I suffered so much as a child. No one listening to me.
And that's, I mean, people forget the damage that can do mentally and emotionally. I relate to your anger, because the past few years, just having the medical world, and I find over here as well, it's the racial bias in the medical fields as well, where a lot of doctors, if they're white or Asian, a lot of them don't listen, because it's like, oh, it's very rare. A lot of African doctors, the older African generation of doctors, tend to be a lot more empathetic, I've found in my experience. You know, and a lot of the younger African generation of doctors are a bit more, they're still a bit skeptical, but because it's not really taught much on. I mean, my cousin's in medical school, and learning about that, they said, I mean, he said they only get like 5 minutes or so. And I did have a white nurse practitioner who spoke to me. She said, well, we don't really get taught much about sickle cell when we're training. So I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. But the anger then that I felt because no one was listening, like you said, no one listening to you, is really damaging. Especially when you're going through such physical agony, and it's a prolonged period of time, or it's over how many years. It adds up. It adds
Mm.
up mentally. It can really damage a person. But I mean, you've achieved so much, and I thank God that you're still here to tell your story and fighting. And wow, with martial arts conditioning, that's wow, that's scary. So scary.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was
Um,
read about these young men and women. There was women as well.
yeah.
The situations, and then I had decided to go because of my eyes. I couldn't allow to do martial arts anymore
Hmm.
because the thought was like real. It wasn't like fake. So we were allowed to knock out people to the head.
Wow.
So, but I could no longer do that if I had my transplants. So I
Uh-huh.
was very competitive, and I had to have some kind of other sports. I started looking into marathon running.
Yes. Wow.
Thankfully,
Okay.
I realizing that okay, this condition is not just like something related to family planning. You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
kind of more like, oh, when you're going to get married and have kids, this is
Hmm.
something that's kind of like the way it was sold to me, not like
Yes.
something concerned on a day basis.
Yeah. Yeah.
um and it is on a day-to-day basis because from experience now, being hyper vigilant, and I am hyper vigilant. I
Hmm.
You have to be your own advocate, like you just
Yes.
have. And I learned that from dealing with my eyes,
Hmm.
how I can easily do it regarding this, because you just cannot let yourself get dehydrated, and
Yes.
you to be active to do that.
Yeah.
Now, even in the years I wasn't active, like I just suffered headaches, pain,
Yep.
together, and it was because I was dehydrated. Now, because
Exactly.
even near much water as I drink now,
Hmm. How
and
much do you drink now? Like, how much is your rough
I want to
daily?
1 second. I want to show you something.
Okay. I'm gonna take a drink as well.
So I want to show you something. So this bottle here,
Hmm.
I try to drink minimum of 3 of these a
Hmm.
day.
Hmm.
Other little bottle about this high.
Hmm.
Within that one, I have 2 of those a day, and I put electrolytes in it as well.
Okay. Yeah.
You get the little electrolyte tablets that they dissolve in water.
Yes. Yeah.
And I found that that's what works for me. If
Yeah.
I will not have, if I do it religiously, I
Yeah.
will take,
Wow.
um,
Yeah.
the last time I had a pain crisis was in October. This last year, October, I
Hmm.
had a really bad pain crisis. It was my shoulder. I couldn't sleep. I thought, okay, if it was that bad that I was gonna have to call the ambulance. Like I felt like I don't know what the hell is happening.
Hmm.
Started drinking water.
Yeah.
I also have salt pills. I buy salt pills. You
Uh-huh.
can chewable salt pills, and
Yeah.
that makes a huge difference. Even with my energy,
Hmm.
it gives me like a lot more energy if I just have a salt pill.
Uh-huh.
Because when you're dehydrated, that you're losing salt from your body.
Yes. Yeah.
These are some of the things that I've done to proactively manage my situation.
Mhm.
Always putting on my forms that I have sickle cell trait. I
Yes.
don't care what a doctor says.
Exactly. Yeah.
Don't
Same.
give lips.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
dude. And yeah, it's worked for me.
Yeah.
Um, Other things I did is I have a little, it's called an oximeter.
Yes. I have one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I'm not feeling well, like, some mornings you wake up and you just feel off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of athletes use this. And
Uh-huh.
this is my point.
Hmm.
They're great. But I
Hmm.
know that they just felt off. They had an off day, and they
Hmm.
used and found that their oxygen was really low.
Yes.
that prevented them from having a medical issue.
Mm-hmm.
Shape. So imagine us.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
and it's so affordable. You know, you can get one on Amazon for like £7 or something.
Exactly. Yep.
So these are things that I think that it's important for us to do, because we have to be our own we have to be our own advocates. We have
Mm-hmm.
to be active and
Exactly.
taking the action so that we can have very healthy, productive lives regardless.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
It's about getting back up, isn't it? Once you kind of knock down, how do you then recover from it yourself, despite even going through the pain continually? You know, how do you kind of deal with this one and manage it and minimize the pain if at all possible? I know some crises don't disappear when you've started your management, but and therefore you then need hospital and medical intervention. But how can we basically manage it? And I mean, you do really well. So during your runs, you have a guide runner. I think I read.
Yeah, now I have to have a guide runner. Before I was basically okay, but my vision is getting progressively worse.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have a guide runner. I hate having a guide runner, to be honest, because it's not that I don't like the guide runners. I'm very appreciative, but it's just you're always having to find someone to do the most basic thing, is to outside and run. You know, you got it and do something that you used to do. It was but you know, the thing is, a lot of people have asked me, you know, I've had babies, I had major surgeries, I've had other major surgeries. I had a huge hernia, and had like a 13-inch cut all the way across. So my stomach is completely covered in like mesh. Biotic woman, I've had all kinds of crap. But you know, it's never prevented me from continuing, because I've always felt that the more I try to keep fit, the better I work. And I'm comparing that to, say, for example, with like my sisters, and they're not active like I am, and they never have been. But I've had all of these ongoing issues, but yet I maintain my health, because maybe I take it less for granted. I don't know, you know, I'm you know, keep. I feel that movement is medicine.
Yes, it is.
I feel that movement is medicine. I feel like a lot of that comes from my background in martial arts, because I was, even from a young child, we were always into martial arts. And certain philosophies of doing things, looking at your breathing, water, your, you know, even people you're around.
Definitely.
Honest. Because
Sorry, I missed that.
I said I don't really have a lot of friends. Like,
I hate you.
I feel like your energy has to be very guarded. Especially what we have going on. You just can't have negativity, because that leads to stress.
Exactly. And it's
so I think you need to practice moving. And even if you can't do strenuous activity, you can go for a walk sometime. The fresh air, especially, it helps. I medicine, and I take paracetamol if I'm in pain. I live with boxes of them around me, if I'm honest. But for example, on Wednesday we have a group run, and I felt very bad. I didn't know what was going on. I felt ill, but I couldn't pinpoint it. So what I did was I started drinking my electrolytes and just drinking lots of water, because I said, you know what, I'm probably dehydrated. My daughter did not want me to go for the run. She said, just stay home, because, you know, they worry.
Of course.
But I said, maybe actually the fresh air will make me feel better than just sitting up in the house, you know, in this stale air. Did a really easy run, meaning like I'm running at the rate that you could walk. That's and I'm short, so my little legs are like but I felt 1,000 times better than I did while I was in the house laying down.
Yes.
But that being said, there are days when I just feel unwell.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to sport and activity, rule, even with my kids, with me as well, they run as well.
That's good.
I always say to them, it's not that serious. Like, sometimes you want to win or you want to beat your time. It's not important enough to take a chance, to take any risk, that if you feel unwell at any point during this event, like, and you know, Mwape, you know, like the levels of unwell, you know, like when you're just, it's just saying, oh, you're tired, girl, sit down.
Yeah.
Right?
To that level where you know that it's going to trigger a crisis.
Yeah. And then there's the
yeah.
level, feel like I'm going to faint.
Yes.
That's when, okay, we're stopping.
Yeah.
For example, I did London Marathon in April.
Yes, I read.
I did that. And I was hoping to finish a lot quicker than I did, but I felt really off.
Yeah.
Enough. I finished the marathon. My sons were waiting to meet me at a meeting point. And I felt like my legs were fine, because if you haven't run a marathon, the main thing is your legs will feel very tired.
Yeah.
And you know, you can just be physically tired, like you're panting, but that wasn't the issue. My legs tired. I did panting, like, you know, because like I said, I ran slow. But something didn't feel right. I just feel like if I keep walking towards my son, I'm gonna faint. And so the medic right there, and my guide was with me, and she said, "Oh, are you okay?" And I said, "No." So a lot of times I think we want to be like all tough and strong and like, you know, or like, fine, or I'll be fine. Don't do that.
Exactly. I think you hit the nail on the head, because like you, I used to love running. It was the most natural thing in the morning to do. I mean, I lost a whole heap of weight. I've since being out of exercise, I've gained a bit because I had a deadlifting injury prior to having my own business, and then my health began deteriorating crazily with my trait status. So and then with this major one, I ended up with my hip being out. There's like an impingement on it. So I think in my head, I see images of myself still running to this day, and I think, okay, if I can't run, what can I do? I can walk. So on the days that I'm good and I'm not in agony, I mean, I'd shared with you that I haven't been feeling well this week for the last week, and it's to do with a gynae issue that I'll share again on another video in the group, because I'm still trying to keep everyone posted with my story and what the progress is medically. It hasn't been much. I'm grateful for what there has been, but it's frustrating that they haven't kind of grasped the seriousness and the severity of the situation that's ongoing currently, because it's scary. But yeah, so I bought myself a dog was it last year? October. And she's small, she's a little pug, and she gets me outside even when I don't want to, every day. So now I have to walk. If I can't run, I can walk. And yeah, it makes me feel 100 times better. And if I can't walk, it's on a day where I really cannot move, or I can't walk, or I'm gonna trigger something even worse. And yeah, I 100% agree with you. Movement is medicine. It's amazing. And now the weather's warming up in the UK. It's nice.
And I think too, sometimes like keeping my kids always complain because the house is cold, because I'll have like the window open a bit. But for example, all of my kids had COVID, and that, thank God, knock on wood, till now I've never had it. But what I like, I'll just crack the window just for a little bit to get like air out.
Yeah.
So I just feel that helps, because I'm just getting some fresh.
Yeah, it does. Do you wear layers? Are you a layers person as well, where you put, even if the window's a tiny bit open, but the heating might be on, or you've got layers on? And
yeah, I tend to keep my robe on, but you know, the odd thing is with me, right?
Mhm.
Is I tend to like, I can take the cold, but
Yes.
now the London Marathon, because that was different. But I can take the cold,
Uh-huh.
so like more than the heat.
Okay.
Like even slightly hot, I feel like I am roasting, and my in family will notice it. Like I feel like it is exaggerated for me. I just
Mhm.
can't eat, and that's one of the reasons I moved here, because even like in the car, if you have the windows up and everyone's just talking, it feels stuffy for me. I can't do it.
That's,
So
no, I think that's a sickle cell trait thing, because I relate to that. I get colder than people. I'm cold when everyone's hot, and the opposite. And I read someone, he's actually a doctor and a very good friend of mine, and he has sickle cell anemia. And he said that it's common in sickle cell anemia to feel hot when everyone's cold and cold when everyone's hot. And I was like, oh, so it isn't just me. And then when I kind of, because I relate in cars, I get stuffy really quickly, and but then it might be roasting hot and someone's got the aircon on and I'm there with a blanket and cold. So I feel the slightest drafts, but
mhm.
so I always have layers, but the window always has to be slightly open just so that my head feels, not stuffy and not, yeah, I feel like I'm gonna pass out. And the racing heartbeat, my heart starts pounding as well with the heat. But I love the heat rather than the cold, but I prefer being just optimal if
Yeah,
possible.
yeah. That's what I do.
Mhm.
Right about the layers, because I have my, like, what do you guys call it here? A house coat? Is that what you call it? Like a robe put on?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
call it a robe or a gown, a
Gown.
dressing. Uh-huh.
Dressing.
Yeah.
I live with my dressing gown. I walk up and down with it.
Yep.
But if I'm hot, I can just take it off. And I
Yeah,
might have a skinny top and a pair of shorts, and then
exactly.
put that on.
Mhm.
I have to get ice because I am like, it's too hot in this house. Like, I can't deal with it. But in London Marathon,
Uh-huh.
like I said, that I wasn't feeling well, and so I went to the tent, and it was pouring rain that day. It was very cold, but I didn't notice the cold because I'd practiced cold.
Yeah,
Um, but obviously, once you stop running, like once you start running, your body temperature just starts to dip, and
yeah.
that's, mine was going even faster. So I walked to the tent, and they had like a little red cross on my bib, a red cross, because
Mhm.
they make you draw it on. And
Yes.
it was wrong. I told her I had sickle cell trait. She started writing stuff down because I was thinking they're just going to ignore me, right? And
Mhm.
I'm going to care.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Because like I'm fully prepared to say like I don't feel well, and if you don't
uh-huh.
treat problem.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
they were great. They were fabulous. They made me sit down, and right away she said to me, she just looked at my hands because I didn't feel cold. And she
Hmm.
said, "You are too cold." And my hands were like white. And
Yeah.
they just blankets. They got
Yeah.
my clothes were soaking wet. My All of my clothes were wet. So they started stripping off my clothes.
Yeah. Because that's a trigger for a major crisis.
Yeah,
Wow.
they also put me in a blanket. They got My guide runner had a um like this really thick kind of jumper. They
Hmm.
put that on me, and then they got blankets to put it like around my legs. They told me keep moving your legs, move your legs, like that. They were just making me move,
Wow.
just move your legs up and down, move your legs.
Hmm.
And calling. The guide runner had my phone, and they were just like, just ignore them for right now. We have so because they wanted to take the oxygen thing, but
Uh-huh.
the thermometer wouldn't even pick up my oxygen.
Oh
Nothing.
my gosh, that's so scary.
But I mean, physically, I was just like, what? But I was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I realized
Um,
my whole body is just like shaking to try to get warm. They put one of those emergency foil looking blankets around me
yes.
too.
Yeah. To kind of generate your body heat.
So they had
Oh.
and they were just like, move your legs, move your legs.
Uh-huh.
I was surprised, like I said, and very pleased with the kind of treatment I got. Like they took me seriously. They knew as
Yeah.
well. They knew
No, I
what to
think
do.
that's needed, I think, with personal trainers and institutes like that. I think it's vital that they, schools, the education system needs to know this, because, for the children that are running and doing PE, and like I was always forced into doing PE until my mom went in, and because I was off sick quite frequently, and anemic, it was just, I mean, the teachers, I guess, had this, not teacher's pet status, but kind of. A few of my teachers I got on well with, because I was a loner. I was always on my own and different to everybody else, because I liked reading. And yeah, it was just one of those things growing up. So yeah, I loved sports, but then I'd always end up sick.
Yeah.
No one knew why, but
Yeah.
I kind of figured it out as I grew into my teens. And then, yeah, it was just, okay, well, just manage myself. And
Yeah.
so you are amazing to actually accomplish running so many marathons, and to actually, wow, yeah, to be here to tell the tale, and to just manage yourself so well. That's incredible.
I think that's, one of your things on your outline was what I said, people with sickle cell trait and parents. And I absolutely educate yourself.
Yeah.
And don't make anyone make you feel like you're being stupid or you're act or whatever.
Or it's in your head.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like you really have to just have an attitude.
Whatever. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't
exactly.
Because
Exactly.
If anything happens, it's happened to me.
Yes.
It's gonna happen to you. It's not gonna affect you. It's gonna affect me. So I'm the person that advocates, unfortunately. And
Yep.
as a parent, what you said about the schools, this is, I cannot believe that even now in the UK do not have like a system, like as a child, year-olds that have died in America, 12-year-olds.
Yep. Yep. I mean, it's shocking. I mean, I haven't read over here, like you said, it was in America. I mean, but it could happen here. Does it have to get to that stage though? And that's the thing. It's like, well, we need to do something. The schools, the system needs to wake up. We need to, I mean, I'm loud and constantly, like you, advocating for myself. I wrote my book because I thought if I died when I was going through the major crisis, I ended up having a stroke. Even though I was feeling stroke symptoms in 2020, in the March of that year, and then December, I end up in hospital with a facial droop and right-sided limb weakness. And it's like, well, I have the stroke nurse said, oh, it's symptoms of a stroke. And then the doctors were like, but we can't find anything wrong. However, I think it's the listening to other doctors when I was inquiring, and they said that the symptoms sometimes with the trait don't necessarily show, the damage doesn't necessarily show up because the infarct or the damage to the tissue is too minute to see. And so to this day, they classed it as query Bell's palsy. So to this day, I don't even have an official diagnosis as what happened, but I know myself because I was collapsing, I was going blank. I would forget my train of thought, and then the right limb weakness continued. My arms only now just recovering and getting stronger, but I still drop things and I can't grip like I used to. And I'm right-handed, so I need my right arm. But Bell's palsy doesn't affect your whole side, the whole side of your body. And the stroke nurse said, well, your symptoms are that of a stroke, but, the doctors just queried Bell's palsy. And yeah, it's crazy. It's bizarre. It's like, what? So yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the thing is, I don't think that it's not happened in the UK. I just reported as such.
Yes.
So like,
yeah,
12-year-old, and they may have a correct?
100%. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Someone took notice of it, and then because they took it to like higher people, then they kind of look into it more. And now, because of legalities, a lot of those students sued the schools because of political reasons. They have to do certain things now.
Yes. Yeah. And that's a good point, because that's exactly like with my book. I was like, okay, well, if I take this and now with surgery, because I had a minor op. I mean, I wanted to ask you about your operations. Did they put any protocols in place to
Yeah.
protect you? Oh, good, good.
Yeah, that to you as well. That's one of the things that like growing up, like I said, they had on the, you have to be careful under anesthesia. And
Yes.
then anesthesia. So I've had, I think, about 5 major surgeries.
Okay.
Anesthesia, when I also had like a severe reaction to the anesthesia. So
Wow. Okay.
they give it to me, they have to be careful. They don't like doing it.
Yeah.
And then woke up, I would just be like projectile vomiting. It was just a mess. So
Yep.
then, but thankfully, when I went here for I had 3 eye surgeries here.
Uh-huh.
It They
Mhm.
had kind of special meetings with the anesthetist, is that how you
Mhm.
say it? And so they had to give me a medicine or something as well, so I
Mhm.
wouldn't be up. But then
Wow.
I have my third surgery.
Mhm.
They didn't want to do that again under general anesthesia because it's a risk every time.
Yes. Yes, it is.
We think this surgery, it's going to be short. It's like
Mhm.
something in my eye.
Mhm.
We're out anesthesia. And I was like, wait, what?
Oh
Like,
my gosh.
you're gonna go with eye? And he's like, yeah, but we're gonna numb your eye. It's gonna be fine. You're not gonna.
Oh.
My God. And they have like a clamp, they clamp your eye open.
Mhm.
I understood why they didn't want to do it with anesthesia again. I know there's risks and all of that, but it was like horrifying because you can see like the thing come into your. It was
Yeah.
very traumatic. It was
Oh
probably the first
my gosh.
I've had that I was just in tears afterwards, and I was just done. I was like, I'm over it. I'm not having any more of these surgeries.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Anything. You don't feel anything. I'm like,
Mhm.
are you stupid?
Well, you could feel it, right?
Yeah, I could. It wasn't. It
My
wasn't.
Lord.
It obviously wasn't fully numb.
Mhm.
I
Mm-mm.
could something,
Yeah,
and no. So I would still opt for anesthesia next time, but
definitely.
did have protocols in place. They did always check and talk to me, and yeah, like a little mini meeting before.
Yes. Yeah.
They do that before your surgery anyway, and you have to go do like your pre-surgery stuff,
Yeah.
and then off they did that.
Wow.
They did that again.
Like, I mean, it's only because, and literally, it's only because I flashed my book in their face that this time they listened to me when I had an operation. And I'm so glad that I had written it down because it was in black and white. And I said, it's all in my book. You guys didn't listen to me before. It was the same team in Guinea. And I said, you guys didn't listen to me before when I had the pre-op and I told you I have sickle cell trait. I was begging them for like extra blankets. I was so cold. The cold, when you have the drip in your hand, and it felt like it was going into my bones, like my bones were ice cold. And then because of the dehydration, the low oxygen levels because of the intubation in that tube down the throat. And I didn't know that they shouldn't have done a full insertion of that tube. And this second time round, they listened. And again, my doctor was an older African doctor, and he was wonderful. He put protocols in place. He made sure that he got hematology on board. And he said, we need to put protocols in for sickle cell. And they monitored me, the headaches, those
Mhm.
headaches that come, that even drinking water doesn't help. Like,
Mhm.
it doesn't go. It's not a migraine, but it feels almost as bad as one, if
Yeah.
in even worse, I think, because a dark room doesn't help either. It just doesn't do a thing. And then the vomiting that comes with it, or the nausea as well. Oh my gosh. I had that like for the last 3 years, almost consistently every day. Um, so it's been a journey. Wow. I'm glad that they've put those protocols in place for you.
Yeah, they did. But one thing that you said that stuck out to me is after one of my eye surgeries too, I woke up also with the excruciating headache, like
Mhm.
my head. blow off.
Yes.
And again, I feel like they immediately took it serious. They wanted me to get up. That's one of the
Mhm.
things. I can't move, but
Yeah.
obviously to try to like get my body moving.
Mhm.
Um, and it's so lovely because they had this big Jamaican nurse. She's like,
Oh.
you need to get up, man, get up and
Uh-huh.
sometimes you need that. You need
Yeah.
someone to be like a mom and like
Uh-huh.
okay, better. And
Okay.
but they still had to give me they said we're gonna have to give you very strong pain medication. So I think they gave me morphine.
Yeah.
Um I was and that I walked around, they gave me the morphine, they gave me like several doses of that. I was supposed to go home, but they had to keep me in.
Mhm.
Um but yeah, I do remember that after the surgery it was
Yeah. Wow.
bad.
Yeah.
Thank
Oh my gosh, I can imagine, but thank God you're okay now. And recovered. Do you still have to have any further treatment for your eyes now
yeah,
following?
I go to the doctors constantly. So I have to go back a month. I'll always have to be dealing with my eyes. It's a
Mhm.
progressive condition, so it
Okay.
can just worse and worse.
Mhm.
This ad won't uh they were they won't be able to like do a lot for my vision like that. It was mainly so I could wear contact lenses, but I
Okay.
can't wear them anymore.
Uh-huh.
Of course I always have to be cognizant of other parts of my eyes, and that's why I'm vigilant now when it comes to sickle, to pay attention to certain things that are going on, and I want to discuss that with them more.
Mhm.
If is this something that's going on with my eyes? Is that a possibility? So for example, when
Mhm.
um I'm running and I finish a long run, my
Mhm.
vision 1,000 times worse. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
the sickling, like the low oxygen, is actually happening in my eyes.
That's
You
what I
know,
was just thinking as you said that about your vision. So
yeah,
it's definitely connected, and that's, I mean, it's amazing that you've kind of just said that as well, because thinking back to when I would run or do high intensity sports and training in the gym and not being able to catch my breath. I remember doing a gym session once and just collapsing in the gym, and just being so breathless. And even when I should have been okay, my breath just wasn't, even though everyone was like, are you okay? And everyone else who felt breathless was fine. And I was just like, I can't breathe. It's like the air isn't
mm,
getting, it's not enough. It's like my chest is collapsing on me. It's crazy. And then my vision would blur as well running. So just making that connection, I've only just made that now because of you. Thanks to you. It's like, wow.
I definitely think, and I'm prepared that they're going to say, "Oh no, it's not that." Blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
Prepared, but like again, I'm always very. I have to be very vocal, and I'll
Yeah.
say, "No, I don't feel like you're taking me seriously." I'll
Mhm.
say, and because you have to, like you just do, like this is my eyes, like I can't function normally,
Yeah.
and if for me, where does that leave me? But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm always having to deal with that, and sickle cell is going to be something that I'll continue to have to deal with my whole life.
Yeah.
I'm into my kids. Thankfully, none of my 6 kids have sickle cell,
Mhm.
but
Do they have
for
the trait?
sorry,
Any of them have the trait?
no,
Okay, thank God. Hmm.
none of them have the trait, and
Hmm.
they were really like surprised when I told them all about it, and um like with family planning
Yeah.
regarding their, and because they thought, wow, that sounds crazy, like that to them, that sounds like, what the hell, mom?
Yeah. Wow. So you're like
So
a superhero to your kids as well, which is, that's good.
but I think one of the things is that people don't take it serious enough, because for
Yeah.
example, just she's now probably about 5 or 6 months pregnant,
Mhm.
and
Sorry, who's that?
my niece,
Okay.
yeah, she's, and I don't think she's checked if her partner has sickle cell trait, and she does.
Yeah.
So that was
That's,
just hard because I think, as a family with sickle cell trait, that should be one of the first things you emphasize to your children. You
yeah.
know, they're of age, you have to emphasize that
Yes.
because my cousins suffer,
Hmm.
and they did suffer.
And to see that is heartbreaking. I mean, it's heartbreaking knowing what we've been through. So to see someone else going through it, it really hurts. It hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh wow. I hope all being well, that baby is healthy and yeah, and
Yeah.
well, no sickle cell trait.
No.
Yeah.
Good God.
Hmm. Oh my goodness. Wow. So what would you suggest to parents who have kids who have sickle cell trait and either, with especially I guess families and the support network and being that you didn't really get the support that you needed growing up, what would you kind of suggest to people who have it and are active or want to be active?
Like I said, I just think you're going to have to advocate for yourself and
Hmm.
tell. I think you can expect a lot of people to just give you the side eye, like, you're doing too much.
Hmm.
It's as serious. Expect that. But to ignore it and give them the information anyway.
Yeah.
So if something happens to you or starts to happen to you while you're in their presence,
Hmm.
then it just might click in. They're going to remember, oh, she told me about this. If it's just very important to get people, 5 minutes. I want to tell you, if you're babysitting, say for example, you're babysitting your nephew,
Hmm.
uh, ABCD starts to happen. This is
Hmm.
what you know
Hmm.
it's no different than if you have a child that's choking on a piece of candy. If my
Hmm.
child, I want you to know what to do. And
Exactly.
a lot of people might say that he might start with a pain crisis,
Hmm.
but you don't know if the child is playing and they
Hmm.
go exertional sickling, the fatality happens in the first 2 to 3 minutes.
Hmm.
It's not playing for 3 hours.
Hmm. Exactly.
Then they might have a pain crisis. But the danger is a person that's, the majority of fatalities happen in the first 2 to 3 minutes. So
Hmm.
say sprinting, playing up and down the playground, back and forth,
Hmm.
back. The first 2 to 3 minutes that the oxygen just can't be there,
Hmm.
and okay,
Yeah.
go downhill. So I think you need to know the warning signs yourselves as
Hmm.
parents, um, and know that, and let your sorry, that's
It's okay. Can you still hear me right?
and let them know what signs to look out for. Maybe
Yes.
you other podcasts with like a
Yeah,
doctor,
definitely.
and yeah, and let them know what symptoms to look out for
Mhm.
and avoid. Like for example, summer's coming up. People
Yes.
might take their kids to high altitude areas, and the kids can go playing.
Yeah. And
Little
sickness
things.
can occur because of the low oxygen levels at high altitude, or if people were like people, adults as well, who dive, people who like heat extreme temperatures is one to avoid, either hot or too cold because of the oxygen levels. So yeah, even
Yeah,
flying is a risk as well.
yeah. You go flying. You go skiing. Some people love to people skiing in the
Yeah.
winter.
Hmm.
They don't. You're combining two deadly things. Being exerted, you know, and then being at high altitude. You have
Yeah.
to educate yourself, and you have to educate people around you. Look, if you see this and this happens, I have this condition. I make it simple. I
Hmm.
just say I have a condition. My
Hmm.
my carry oxygen as well as yours.
Yeah.
So see me acting like this, confused or
Hmm.
light breath. If you see my legs kind of buckling,
Hmm.
you need to call someone. Um,
Exactly.
Everyone with sickle cell trait should wear a medical alert bracelet.
I created one myself because I couldn't find any and my GP wouldn't give me one. So I created one.
You can just order. I got a little cheapy one. This just flips open. I'll get a better one later on, but this just flips open and it
Mhm.
has my in there.
Mhm.
But I think all children with sickle cell trait, all adults should have a medical alert bracelet because
Yes.
now they will treat someone with sickle cell trait as though they're having like a heat stroke,
Yeah.
and they're
Two different things. Yeah. 100%.
yeah.
100%. I also, what I did was I felt that if it gets to the point where I'm having a crisis and I can't speak,
Mhm.
so I created, I don't know if you can see this card, but I created a card for the group with the group's title on, and basically it just says on the back of it, you know, my hemoglobin status is I have sickle cell trait, and it just tells them if ever I'm unable to speak, this is the reason why. So I may be having a pain crisis and I might need you know, oxygen, bottle of water, hydration, to be kept warm, not hot, not cold. And then it just tells them to avoid extreme temperature changes, rest, adequate pain relief. Sometimes, I mean, I know for me, hearing you talk about paracetamol, I'm like, wow, I have to take some serious strong stuff
Yeah.
now. And I mean, managing that kind of pain to the level, like the level of morphine when I was in hospital, the level of pain I was having, and even to this day, I've been finally given something that is adequate. But even then, when I'm having a crisis, sometimes it doesn't touch it unless I take the combination of stuff, and then it just knocks me out and I sleep.
Yeah.
You know, when it's manageable. But yeah, it says adequate pain relief and then avoid high altitude. And it just says, just give me a bit of empathy as well. You know, it says not all illnesses are visible. So I'd appreciate your empathy at this time, because you find a lot of people think, oh, you're fine because you look able-bodied, but it's forgetting that it's stuff that they can't see going on in your blood. So yeah, it's just, I just thought that would be helpful for like anyone to find in the back of my phone. Or if ever I go to hospital unconscious or whatever, at least I have some of these things to hand that can help me. So yeah.
That's really really thoughtful because you know you
Mhm.
just happens to you and you can't speak, but
Mhm.
I think definitely you should emphasize parents having that
Mhm.
and putting it on their kids' school records
Yes.
because to do stuff in PE and stuff it's just cruel. It's just
Mhm.
I
It
know
is.
I to to run and do cross country and I was just like suffering and I couldn't understand why, and now I do. Now I've been able to train myself, but like I said, I've had years of you know training.
Mhm.
Something I would tell someone with sickle cell, oh, just go like, you know, do a zero to couch. You know, they have this program where
Mhm.
you even things like that. Like
Mhm.
people would, oh, I'll just go do like a fast run.
Mhm.
They don't realize that you have to do any form of exercise. You should be properly warmed up. That
Yeah.
means like mentally warming up.
Yes.
Start your exercise, you know?
Exactly.
Basic things like that. I think, like you said, we're suffering and a lot of people don't know why. They're just not connecting the dots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I agree. I mean, I wanted to read out some of the comments that we've got on Facebook. So Diane Williams Flournoy, she said good information. Someone else, Sesi Bandeke Ashraf. So he said, thanks for sharing. Every day it's for learning about sickle cell trait. I think he's an advocate in, I think it's Kenya. I'm sorry if I got the location incorrect, but yeah, he's also advocating, and he says it's after knowing that the trait causes so many problems that you can relate on your past, which,
Mm.
you know, is connecting the dots. And then someone else, Raquel Stephanie Romero, she's in Belize. So she has I think she has a young warrior with sickle cell disease, and she's such an advocate and support as well. So she's just saying that she's missed this. She's going to a health fair again to advocate again today in Belize City. So yeah. And then Moyo, my friend, actually texted me yesterday, and she joined us today in the panel, but she wanted to listen in because she was doing some exercises this week. and she said it would be really informative. So she just says, hi, both of you. This was a very informative session. I've enjoyed hearing about remedies such as the salt tablets. I'm like big up on the salt tablets. I haven't taken anything oral, but I've taken magnesium salt, Epsom salt baths, and they're great for recovery, for aches and pains. And just, yeah, it really helps. So yeah, she said, keep the feet moving after high intensity exercises and keeping the windows open and going for a walk. That was really helpful for her. And she had to leave a bit early, but yeah, wow. I'm just amazed at your strength and the endurance that you've built. And, so I hope it, and I know this is going to definitely encourage and bless so many people that are watching and that will watch in future, because I think to know that actually you've suffered like you have sickle cell, but you've still overcome these challenges and still overcoming so many challenges, with having symptomatic sickle cell trait. And that's, big up you. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you so much. Just anyone that I can help and give advice to, I'm just literally all in this together. I look at everyone as we're just one big family, really.
Definitely. And it's nice to kind of have your tribe as well with the sickle cell trait community, because I found in a lot of sickle cell spaces, you kind of have to, you're the one odd one there saying, I have the trait and I suffer symptoms, but I've kind of learned to roar now as loud as they do, because I just think, well, we are all the same. And without the trait, essentially, we wouldn't have the disease. It's just that knowledge that actually trait can suffer. And the ones that do, how do we advocate together? How do we change our community's mindset? And how do we strengthen each other? And, it's just, yeah, it's a powerful thing. Unity is power. So, yeah.
Definitely. I always said to my kids, you can't whisper. People want well-behaved women. And there's a famous quote that no well-behaved woman ever made history. So
exactly.
If I can prevent one child from suffering the way I did, if I can prevent, save one person, that but
exactly.
I think the work that you're doing, I think it's so important, so important, and literally could save someone's life. And
yeah.
I don't know what more amazing thing you can do than that. So I want to and thank you as well for all that you're doing, and tell you to just continue the fight. My father, one of the things he told me, and he knew I had sickle cell, he died when I was very young, and he told me, he said, you're a warrior.
Yes.
And he wasn't sickle cell, he just looked at me, he was just really worried about me. He said, you're and I took that to heart, and I applied it to everything I've done in life. And I've had some things happen to me, but not going to go quietly into the night.
100%.
We have work to do while we're here.
Yes.
While we're here, we're blessed. You're blessed to be able to speak, to be able to do things like this. Blessing. And when it comes to running or anything, I always tell, it doesn't matter what you do. You could be an admin. It doesn't matter. I brings my groceries probably than I value the people at the bank.
Yeah. Exactly.
Everyone is valuable. And what we is, we don't have to do anything. You don't have to do this. We get to do it.
Yeah.
Still here. And as long as I tell my kids that I had a tumor in my leg. I don't have to run. I get to run.
Yes. Exactly. Wow.
Everything. So I want for the work you're doing. I want you to help I can. And I'm going to pray for your health. And I believe in healing, and I believe in prayer. And there's like a tribe united. There's, no one is going to quiet that voice that you're echoing and saving lives doing it. So I just want to thank you as well. And thank you
so much. Thank you. You're going to make me cry, because I get really emotional when I know that pain that you've gone through. And it's like, thank you for keeping me going. People like you who are willing to speak out keep me going, because it's only through that united voice. It means I'm not alone in this, that it gives me the strength to just do, okay, one more session, and then one more, and then one more. And before we know it, we've grown so big, and, and our voices united are, wow, impactful. They're making such a huge impact in the medical world, in the community first. And that's where I believe it starts. And one day, one doctor or one researcher will see us and be like, I want to take this research on, let's do it. Let's, and let's come together. Let's change the way that sickle cell trait is looked at, because it's killing us unnecessarily, or potentially killing, it is, and potentially could continue doing so if we don't continue speaking. So I'm so honored that you would join me today. Thank you.
You having me on. Like I said, I want you to continue to your work, and I will continue to help you. And message out there even more, so much so that, like you said, our voices will be louder than anyone saying that, it's just growing pains.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Definitely.
No, that's not acceptable.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you. I'm just checking any of the messages. I haven't had any of the messages or questions or anything. But I just think, if anyone wants to reach out, can they find you in the group, or would you like them to contact you any other way, or should I just pass on messages through the group?
Yeah, I'm not sure how the group thing works because I'm just on there. So, if I'm on there, you can message me if I'm free. So, and if they pass you in a message, that's fine too. That's fine too. I want you to continue working, and let's try to find a way to, have a bigger conference or something.
Definitely.
And I know your health is a huge impediment. Send you positive vibes. I'm gonna.
I love that. Thank you. Because they keep me going. And I think this year I've come into this place where mentally I just thought, I'm going to live again. So even if it means I dress up, I put a bit of lipstick on, and I fix my hair, and I dress up, look nice and feel good. And that's when I look at the reflection in the mirror, even if I'm in agony, and I can tell by my eyes, and sometimes my skin just looks real pale, and I'm a light-skinned Black woman already, so it's like I look really light or sick when I'm off. But I just thought, no, let me fix up, let me look good, and then if I have to go back to bed looking good and ready for whatever comes after I wake, then so be it. And that's what this year is about for me. It's about growth and seeing things differently. And just embracing the blessing of helping others.
Definitely. And you're going to reap that reward. You already reaped the reward. But I'm just excited to see where you're going to go from here, and excited to be a passenger on that ship. Let's do some great things together.
Definitely, let's do it. And anything, I'm gonna keep you posted, and I will send you all the links. I'll send you this video recording as well, so you've got that to hand, and you can feel free to share wherever, to whomever you need, you want to get our message across to. And we'll stay connected, definitely.
I wanted to ask you a quick question. Your organization, are you registered so that you can get donations and stuff like that, or?
That I kind of, because of the issues I was having with the continual headaches, I haven't registered as yet, but that's something that is in progress. So I want to kind of get registered. And I need to sit down, fill out the paperwork now and get registered, and then start pushing for fundraising events and things and donations. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As far as I know, I don't even know if you have to be like registered. I think you can start fundraising. Without registering with the Charity Commission until you £5,000. I think once you're £1,000, then you have. So lots of times when we're running, we do running, and we actually fundraise for organizations when we're doing that. We in mind. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Definitely.
That's something we can do.
Yes, let's do it. I'm definitely interested. So I think from here, I've got an idea of something that's been brewing for a while, some ideas. So I'll email you, and we'll stay connected and do something together. Because I think two strong women doing, doing what we do best, which is helping people and love doing, So I think, let's do this.
Good.
Let's do this. Thank you, Lady Rabia. And likewise, have an amazing rest of your weekend. Have a beautiful rest of the day.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch definitely very soon.
Definitely.
Blessings, sis.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.